Hey e-commerce marketing podcast listener, I wanted to let you know that we have created 16 e-commerce marketing videos for you. You can download these free videos by visiting ecommercemarketingpodcast.com/videos or by texting the word videos to +1 480 418 1411. These step-by-step video marketing tutorials will teach you how to drive more traffic to your e-commerce website, how to get more backlinks to your e-commerce website, and how to optimize your website to get more paid customers. Get the videos right now by visiting ecommercemarketingpodcast.com/videos or by texting videos to +1 480 418 1411. Welcome to the e-commerce marketing podcast. Today's guest is Vishal Matani from thepennyhoarder.com. Welcome to the podcast, Vishal.
Well, thank you, Robert. Thanks for having me.
So if you can just give us your background at the Penny Hoarder and how you ended up at the Penny Hoarder and any other things that you've done as far as online and e-commerce businesses.
Oh, sure. Well, that kind of dates me back to way back in the day, right? So while I was in university, talking about late 90s, started developing sites for customers, people, e-commerce and branding sort of websites that would allow these clients to sell their products online. It was relatively new in 99, 98 to be able to bring your catalog onto the web. There were, oh my gosh, Miva Cart. I mean, there was some really... again, dating myself, there's some really older stuff that's not around anymore. Now it's all about Shopify's, BigCommerce, WooCommerce. So it was about getting their catalogs online, and that's kind of my entrance into the web development side. And it kind of went into about a year later, one of my earlier clients coming to me and saying, well, we have got this great site. What do we do with it? And can you help us market it? Right. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of learned about it, right? At that time, there wasn't even Google, right? It was more like AOL searching, asking friends, networking, and I actually came upon someone in Miami, which is where I was living at the time, and they started to school me into the way that they were generating leads and generating traffic. And at that time, it was buying traffic from co-registration sites and from sites that were some of them were giving away free things, some of them were selling stuff and had exit traffic. So started to tap into that and learn a bit more from my own clients. Really enjoyed it a lot. So then got further into the marketing side of things, digital marketing, and actually joined a company for a short stint under a year to help them grow their telecommunications business. Mm-hmm. And it was a traditional calling card business. They wanted to start a web acquisition side, and the company's name was Tel3, owned by Radiant, and we helped them build their what eventually became and termed as their affiliate program, where people would promote and we'd pay them for new customers. But then moved on from there and ended up opening my own digital marketing agency, right? And had many clients that we did this for, right? So multiple verticals, all business to consumer, lead generation, customer acquisition, multi-channel. I mean, there was at that point, there was some search, but really it was about network of sites. It's about contacts, who you knew. Ad tech was really small. The ad tech show in New York, and it was really tiny. And if you knew the right people, you'd be able to tap into that sort of traffic and generate the traffic for your clients. So that's kind of how I really dug into the digital marketing space. I've owned many companies since then. Like I said, one was agency. I was a publisher at one point. When I say publisher, not in the terms of like the Penny Hoarder or Newsly publisher. It was more like owning media, owning sites that had traffic. And then I've also been an advertiser where we were buying traffic, all business to consumer, customer acquisition done online sort of thing. My last one is called Kindermint, where it was an online kids consignment store. And what made it online is that you'd request a bag, we'd send it to your home via mail, they would fill it up, they'd send it in, we'd appraise it, we'd photograph it, we'd give you an appraisal online, send you payment online, and then list it for e-commerce online. And that was a good part of almost 2 years, and built it, ended up selling it to the leader in the industry at that time. The first mover was, their name was ThreadUp. So they're still around. They do e-commerce, and they moved from kids clothes to adult female, and both adult female and male. So that's and the point I sold that is when maybe a few months after that, 4 or 5 months after that, Kyle and I met through a mutual friend. And I was at that transitional stage, and he was like, "Hey, I've got this thing going. It's doing really well, and write this content, and I could use your expertise." And looked at what he was doing. It was really exciting, and the way that the type of content we produce, and the engagement of our users on social media was really enthralling to me, and joined him. And it's I tell you, it's been a whirlwind. It's flown by, and every minute of it's exciting and a lot of fun.
Wow. So it sounds like you're ready to write a book. Because
really long-winded there.
Yeah. It's like you've been through it all. I mean, the last 10 years, a lot has changed as far as digital marketing and online marketing just within 10 years. But you've been here, from the get-go, the late 90s till right now. So I'm sure today is going to be a great episode, and you can share some great things from everything you've seen that's worked over all these years. But before we get into it, just explain to us, what's the Penny Hoarder for some of the listeners who don't know?
Absolutely. So the Penny Hoarder, it is a website that is about personal finance, but for the average Joe or Jane. We generated, 2016, we generated $20 million in revenue. We are around 25 million page views per month, and mostly social. It's a very shareable content, right? So it's like something might look like, 9 apps that can help you budget more efficiently and save you a certain amount of money per month or per week, right? And we would have. What's different about us, and I think that a lot of other publishers may not be doing, is that we have a research team that goes out and they check out the apps, and they experience it themselves, and they see how they work and the pros and cons, and really pulling out that value proposition and differentiations between each one, and sometimes commonalities. And we'll recommend, we will review it, and I guess by way of narrowing it down to the most important ones. Recommend these 9, right, and give them our own take on it and how we used it and what it saved us. So that whole idea of vetting and going through the process of learning what that product does and how it does it, and then communicating that to our users. Our users trust us because we're honest about it, and so that's kind of what the Penny Hoarder is. It's a publication of digital finance.
Okay, and now to get into e-commerce marketing. What are some of the top strategies that you think listeners should invest in to grow their e-commerce businesses?
Sure. It's a broad question. And I guess, so interestingly enough, I just came out of a really interesting conference on digital publishing. And I think you see it everywhere now, even in many articles that are written about this duopoly, right? Facebook and Google, right? And they're going to own the world because they own the media, the digital media. The largest growing, the fastest growing, and the largest in revenue. It was last year growth 15 to 16. It was like 50 some odd percent growth of Google, and somewhere in the mid 40s for Facebook, but catching up really fast. Exponential growth rates, right? So so that said, I think there's no secret that these two are the troughs of traffic that one can tap into if you can get it right. And really the strategy is about how to get it right. It's not about where to go. And, what we've experienced here at the Penny Hoarder is honesty is probably the most important thing, right? Because when you're looking at something like Facebook, which is one of the fastest growing of the group, is that since it's social, it's completely transparent. Right. Mm-hmm. So there's no, you have to be honest in what you're offering, and not only honest in what you're offering, but very true to your value proposition. Right. Understanding what it is. And sometimes just the either the founder or the founding team or that understands their competition and everything about them and I guess what problem you're trying to solve at the end of the day and how well it solves it. Right. Mm-hmm. If you get that right and you can communicate it, you can build off of that and start communicating it properly through your value proposition and to your consumers in your ad copy. So going back to, strategy, it's if you're choosing something like a Facebook or social media to generate your traffic, It's about getting the ad copy right, and many, many sets of ad copy, right? It might take thousands of A/B tests to get that one that works, and then 1,000 more, or 2,000 more to get another one. But it's really about freshness of ads, right? And once you get that messaging right, and there's no such thing as too many, I think, in this case.
Okay, and so you've mentioned two things. The first one was honesty. The second one was testing different ad sets. But to go back on honesty, what do you mean by honesty? How can a business use being honest to try and get customers and win customers over?
What I mean to there is really, there are many companies that use dishonest, I guess, misleading practices or misleading taglines or headlines. That's one example. Another would be calling out a value proposition that really isn't there, or saying you're better than another particular product and not really substantiating that, right? It's about presenting correctly and delivering, and even better if you over-deliver what you promised.
Okay. And so I guess some companies have to make sure they stand out in the crowd. They have competitors, and some of them might be liberal as far as trying to make sure that they stand out. So how can they still be honest? I mean, let's say we're looking at two companies. We're looking at Coke and Pepsi. let's look at
Right.
Coke and Pepsi. I mean, they both have their customer. I'm a Coke person. Honestly, there's nothing Pepsi can do. They can't pay me $1 billion. At the end of the day, I love Coke for whatever reason. But when Coke and Pepsi is advertising to me, Pepsi, if they're coming to me, they know like I'm a Coke person, there's nothing they can do to convert me, but they still want to stand out. They might make some crazy claims to try and get my attention. So if a business is making a crazy claim to try and get attention, while they're still, I guess, you're kind of getting into a gray area. You're still being honest. I mean, Pepsi can't come to me and say, we know our sodas, you don't like the taste, but we're still better than Coke. I guess, how can they make themselves stand out while still being honest to me?
So I think if I'm hearing you correctly, you're talking about like the shock and awe sort of. Sure. Right. I think that definitely belongs in its own category, right? That's more like, you're trying to get, it's branding. You're trying to get attention. In a lot of the environment that digital marketing lives in, especially in the size of a lot of these organizations, it's all ROI based. They're not spending a ton of time on branding. Therefore, a lot of it has to do, it's very factual in many cases, or there might be some shock and awe in it. I've seen them for sure. When you actually go out and buy media, you're looking for $1. I spend $1 out and I get $1.10 back or $1.20 back, whatever your number might be. And it's almost immediate. That's the beauty of digital media, right? And I think in a lot of cases like this, to be able to get that immediate ROI, it's a direct message. It's almost direct response.
Yeah, and so the other thing you had mentioned was creating hundreds of different ad sets to try and test and optimize. Do you have any tips as far as doing that, but still at a cheap, affordable price? Because, some companies are not at that level where they can spend thousands of dollars on testing. Yeah,
absolutely. I guess you're absolutely right. I mean, it definitely takes money. I would say extend it as far as your budget can go in testing, maximize it. I think the tactics we're all using are very similar, setting a cap in the amount you're spending per day, making sure you don't, lose or push all your budget out in one go without proving anything. The point I'm trying to make here is just spend as much as you possibly can in testing. Even when you have some really successful campaigns, use that opportunity to take the excess funds and throw it back into more testing, because it will usually yield you more funds. It's a lot of elbow grease, and it's a lot of work, but that's usually where we've seen our success.
And what should people be testing in these ads? Is it the copy? Is it the headlines, pictures? What should they be testing?
So I know this is not what you probably want to hear, Robert, but it's all of them.
Yeah.
It's all of them. It really is. I mean, and it's not. And you know what's crazy is that it might not even be a specific, it might not even be a specific combination. It might be the time you run the same combination and that it actually takes off. It really boils down to multiple tests across copy, headline, tagline, and an image. It's just excess testing.
Okay. Thanks for being on the podcast, Vishal. If people wanted to reach you, how can they reach you?
Sure. They can email me at vishal@thepennyhoarder.com.
Okay. Are you on Twitter?
Sure.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, Twitter. My LinkedIn is V Matani. That's VMAHTANI. And they can reach me there as well. Just linkedin.com/V Matani and message me there.
Okay. And the last question I have for you is, what is one thing an e-commerce business can do today to get more traffic and get more customers?
I think this really boils down to product and back to communication of product, right? It's not just about value proposition and communication of value proposition, but it's looking at it from many angles, right? So maybe from, for instance, an influencer angle, right? So maybe us as an influencer, the Penny Hoarder might take a financial stance on it, right? But there might be another influencer that's some sort of sports star that would take it from a different angle, right? It is finding the right influencers, and maybe even across several different verticals or areas of influence, and working the correct angle of your product to them and having them endorse it or write about it, so that you have a voice, a third party that people trust. And most of these, at least with us, we wouldn't write about it unless we believe in it. And I think a lot of people on the web that are searching and see something with our brand on it, and many other publishers are in the same boat, that if you have somebody writing about it and something positive about it, you'd actually, and sometimes even bringing out some cons. They can write pros, but when you have some cons in there too, and it's fine, it's honest, and having that sort of backing allows you to gain that sort of a good reputation and help them get through the funnel to conversion.
Thanks for being on the podcast, Vishal.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for having me, Robert.
Thank you for listening to the e-commerce marketing podcast. Join the e-commerce marketing podcast Facebook group to learn, connect, collaborate, and grow with other e-commerce marketers at ecommercemarketingpodcast.com/FB. ecommercemarketingpodcast.com/FB. Subscribe to us on iTunes by searching for e-commerce marketing podcast, and please leave a rating and a review. Thank you for listening. See you next time.